I'm sorry, I had to adjust the camera. Oh, shoot. This thing don't always want to stay in there. Excuse me, y'all. Anyway, hi, it's Miss Luna coming at you with some Omega energy. Now, I've been derelict in my duties on this channel. I really have. I've been falling off a lot. Now, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to let y'all know that I have difficult moments in my life sometimes. And when I say difficult moments, I mean it could be upgrades, it could be energy shifts that I'm having some shadow work, additional shadow work to do, or one of my children need me more than I need to do this. Now, that last part is gonna come before everything else. And so this particular time I had all of it. Okay? Now, this is my way of saying to you out there in the listening audience that it's perfectly okay sometimes to fall back from things and activities you're typically normalizing in your life to give yourself space to heal and process difficult moments that you're going through and then come back to it when you feel at ease to do it. Okay, I don't put pressure on myself. Have been, not am, using my words carefully for myself. I have been very A-type in my life. A-type. And if y'all know what that means that somebody who's constantly on top of things and always want to be doing the damn most and always got to be accomplishing something, always got to be the best at something, not necessarily to be competing with anybody else, but just for their own, self-image or anything like that, right? And I've learned over time, especially while having the free time to dive more into my spiritual being, who I am, that A-type energy was coming from a place of feeling not good enough and always having to prove to myself and sometimes others, whether I recognized it or not at the time, that I'm good enough. And I don't have nothing to prove. Like, so if I go 2 or 3 weeks without coming on here, it don't bother me none. Okay? Especially if I'm doing that, not because I'm just lazing around and not giving a damn about my listening audience, but because I'm processing a lot of hard things, I'm okay with it. But I've freed up a lot of energetic space in my life right now. So, this is cathartic for me at this particular moment because I'm feeling good. I do not first of all, there's 2 things. One, I'm not addicted to being on camera. I'm not addicted to being looked at. I don't even have profile pictures on my social media, I'm gonna be honest. But the second part too is I won't come on here if I'm not feeling my best. Or if I have a workday in which empaths be empathing and I'm empathing with people all day, and it's not that I'm feeling yucky feelings, but I'm tired or I've done a lot in that day. That's why I cut back. I used to do this when I first started the channel almost every day or every other day, and literally wore me out. Between that, my friends and family that were also using me for my empath services, and that's the thing we're going to talk about today, by the way, so foreshadowing, as well as my clients. I was flat tired all the time, but I didn't get enough rest because on top of being an empath, sorry, y'all channeling, y'all know how it goes, my nose itches. On top of being an empath and working in a helping career, being a spiritual being or divine being, starseed, whatever you guys like to call it, doesn't matter to me. You are constantly getting waves, shifts, downloads, all kinds of things like this. And that you're still functioning in everyday society and doing whatever it is you do every day. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. But here's the good news, y'all. I found so much more balance with it as of late. So much more balance with it that now it's like, do I feel like getting on there? Then I'll tell myself, okay, go through the steps. And I've given myself steps. So y'all can take them if y'all want. It's all right. Well, I think, okay, is there something I really need to say? Or am I getting on here as an obligation to get my face out there to try to promote business and blah, blah, blah? Promoting my businesses is not the largest thing to me anymore. Again, I didn't put A-type on the shelf. Boom. And it made my life a hell of a lot better because I don't view myself from the prism of being successful to y'all. I'm successful to me. and that's enough. So I don't need the outside endorsement of my success. Okay, that's just put it there. Because what I do for a living, even on the rougher days, I absolutely love and enjoy. Okay, to the point where I'm like, I miss my clients. If we have a week off for whatever reason, I miss my clients. I really do. And then but I also enjoy the solitude, alone time, or just being able to just vibe in my own energy, or go out and have some fun, extra fun, or whatever. Both those things are good, but I do genuinely miss them. Okay. Now, remember what I told you we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna get to some other stuff, but we're gonna just put a little spotlight on something real quick. One of the things I've been having difficulty processing is two things. One, empathing, be empathing, and not be an empath that be empathing, child. The layers to being an empath and one that is a strong empath. Let's start there. For me and people like me that I've met on my journey in this life, going through several layers of trauma from childhood up into adulthood, but it didn't make you sour or bitter or an enemy to the populace. It created a version of you that constantly is aware. And if somebody tells you, hey, I've been through this, and this, you understand because you likely have gone through all that stuff. And you also feel something for them. It's love. Now, that's not empathy. To me, that's not empathy. It's love. You're loving a version of yourself that went through that through them. That's how I see it anyway. But if you've been through enough stuff, you feel stuff all the time. Go out in public, you feel stuff. But also when you go out in public, perfect strangers come up and tell you their life story and their traumas because they feel your trusting and loving energy and they want to feel safe from whatever they're not able to fully process themselves. It's a natural thing that comes along with being an empath. Okay? And that's another thing. I personally have to process myself because I'm just like, I am so sick and tired of going to parties and having people surround me and taking turns using me as their free therapist. It got to a point where it would piss me off because I'm like, I literally just want to be a person right now and go ape shit, do some hood rat stuff. I don't want to be a divine being right now, guys. I kind of just want to party with the rest of y'all. But that's not always something that's 100% on the table. We don't always get to choose that. We can set good boundaries, though. We can say, okay, if you really would like to, I can refer you to someone. Because in my role as a mental health professional, I'm not going to have, because it's unethical to have clients that will come see me. Especially when I used to go to parties with certain groups, I knew them very well and very personally. So you're not going to see them personally. But in my role as a spiritual advisor and someone who also aids and assists people with their mental health care, I still will refer someone. But I may not personally see them for certain services because it's too personal to me. Just to keep a healthy boundary there. Again, my nose is itching. Now, that's all things that I had to learn to balance the hell out. The last lesson I had with that was the hardest one I've had with that. Was somebody I love to this day, down to my core, but had to set some firm boundaries because, again, people who've been through a lot of stuff have so much light in them. But with all things, there are two sides. And with me, I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist because I love my shadow. Finally, god damn it, took me a long enough time. Anyway, my shadow side is a roughneck. It's like you take the roughest of the rough characters you've ever seen in comic book superheroes, fucking villains. You take Thanos, Killmonger, anybody else, and you put them all. Ghost Rider is not a villain, but the energy of that. You take, because I don't know if y'all just realized something about me. I'm a little bit of a comic book nerd and I like all the cartoons and stuff. But you take them all, put it together with the arrogance of Rick from Rick and Morty. Yeah, put them all together. This is my shadow. But also like some other stuff in there. But let's just give you a general gist of it. So I would let people exhaust me and take from me and this is my responsibility, me taking responsibility for it so you can understand what you're doing if you're doing it too. Exhaust me till you get to the point where I have no more light left to give them. None. and just boom, just straight for the shadow. And the shadow has nothing to balance it out. All the light is gone because I didn't set firm boundaries with my friends and family. And then boom, I'm going off. And it's some of the scariest events and actions that these people who I love would ever experience in their life. Yeah. And then after the fact, I would calm down and realize and recognize some things about myself that I should have done before I got to that place of going off. Because some people, even if you love them, you got to cut them off for your own personal, emotional, and spiritual well-being. But see, that wasn't the thing that said did. Okay. As my role is said, not necessarily Metaluna, just in my personal life, I wouldn't cut nobody off. It's like, it's well known. I'm an Aquarius, full disclosure. The Aquarius will cut people off. Not this one. See, what other people don't have in their birth charts, that I do have in birth chart that is incongruent with being an Aquarius Sun and Mercury is I have a very strong placement at Venus, and it's called Pisces. And my Pisces Venus energy shows itself in the way that I didn't cut people off. I'll actually leave people as a part of my life for a very long time. Even if I just let them constantly back into my energy, no matter how much they mess me over, abuse me, use me, I would see. I wasn't dumb. I would see the use and abuse, and I always would make an excuse as to why they're like that. Most empaths are this way, right? But I wouldn't do the typical Aquarius thing and just like, done, cut them off. Most of my friendships in my life span at this particular point 10, 15, 20 plus years. Because no matter what somebody does, I always love them. I still do. I just have better, firmer boundaries in place now than I ever had in my entire life. I actually am not religious, even though I was raised in a church. I do understand and respect the allegorical advice in some parts of the Bible. Okay? And one of the parts that I adhere to the most and teach to my children is everybody deserves a second chance. That's one. You can look beyond their fault and see their need. So first time, just in case they are aware of their actions, tell them what they've done. And tell them how you didn't like that and what it made you feel. And the kindest, purest form of love way you can do that. The second time they do that, don't assume they're not aware because you told them the first time. Be more firm in your approach and be more specific in what happens when someone does that, and that you are willing to walk away from the table. And when I say table, the person, their energy, or anything has to do with them, if they don't just continue doing what they're doing. Third time, this is an absolute decision. You have two choices. Walk away and be done with it. Just clean the slate. Deal with whatever grief you need to process because that person was important to you. If you can admit that, heal your ego. Because some of the things that slows us down from healing is not admitting that even though a person messed us over, we still love them because we've been socialized to not feel that way because it makes us look weak. So let's put that away so we can properly heal, but learn and grow some self-reliance and love and letting that person go. That's one choice, and that's the best choice. However, if they follow you after that or insist upon being in your energy after that, unleash the beast. And when I say unleash the beast, your shadow is there for a reason. One of the things that I believe firmly as a spiritual advisor and a mental health professional and a woman just living the human existence and experience is some of the karma we bring on ourselves and generational curses we bring on ourselves and all of these energies like this is because we let people walk on us and then we walk away. And thinking we're the better person, we just can't let them steal from us, hurt us, and all these things. And then we're left with wounds that don't heal, that we pass on to other people and our children. Instead of whooping their ass because they deserve their ass whooped. It's like you're going to let somebody stomp on your face and not get up. So be nice twice, then fuck them up. Or walk away. Add that caveat. Walk away or fuck them up. Fuck them up is reserved for when you try to walk away and they insist upon bothering you, your spirit, your energy, your essence. Okay? Now, I had to add that one for myself Because you know what I had before that? Tell them nice twice, then fuck them up. I didn't give myself the option to just walk away. Because I wasn't raised or socialized that way. I was raised and socialized and had two sides of the family that was always about the life. There was always about the fight. There was always about the lack of disrespect. None of them would hesitate to fight. Women and men. Sometimes the women were more violent than men in my family, on both sides. Okay? So the option to walk away and heal that was never taught to me. So I had to learn it and grow it over time. Even when I was in college, learning about the mental health sciences, this is not a thing that was well structured and taught very well, in my assessment and opinion. So, especially experiencing some of these people who are mental health professionals, not doing that. Okay? So, with that being said, I allowed my loved ones and family, especially when I first started my business and I'm trying to grow this practically by myself. Now, did I have support initially with a lot of people willing to volunteer and help and things like that? But the thing is, I was giving them of myself, so it wasn't volunteer. If I'm giving you sessions and I'm teaching you and giving you guidance and teaching you about mental health education and giving you of my energy and my work day, it wasn't volunteer. Volunteer means you literally are getting nothing in exchange for your help to me. See, I always had this guilt of another layer of that. I always had this guilt. I know some of y'all know about this, of allowing us to help us without having to give them anything. That was also a thing that was wearing me the hell out. But that layer aside, these people who I still love very dearly were taking full advantage of their access to me. So it wasn't just said as my friend. It wasn't just said as a person in my life that I love. They were just absorbing any good energy I can give them when they were having their dark moments. But whenever I have those moments, they would give me back. A lot of them, except for one, and even that trickled down to almost nothing eventually, would give me short bursts of what they had energetically to give. So there was no reciprocity, not really. So I can take and take and take from said, but I can only give her a little bit. Now, see, it's not their responsibility that that happened. Here's the thing. I had to process and learn. It was my responsibility that that happened because I'm a strong enough person, an intelligent enough person to be able to set boundaries. Learning how to do that. Learning that boundaries exist and learning how to do that are two different things. I finally learned a great way of how to do that. Ways of how to do that. Hopefully teach them to you over time. But this is just a little personal story, but also one I've heard many, many times from clients too, that maybe can help somebody out there understand that you can be a good person while giving all of yourself. And sometimes you need to check in with yourself to see if you have reciprocity in all your relationships. And also, if you find that you have a person with anger issues, because I'm still that person, I just handle it better now. Figure out how many boundaries you allow people to cross before you got to that place, especially if you could perceive yourself to be a good person. Because it is true. A lot of times, when us empaths who are capable of great rage, like myself, go off, that's all people see. Or know about or understand. They don't see the things that took to get you to that place necessarily. But now you have, not that you should give too much of a fuck about what anybody thinks of you, but if you have a job to do and it would impede your job, if you go to hell off, now you have to rebuild and restructure everything around your dynamic because now you've allowed other people to make you go off. You've allowed this by not setting firm boundaries and having some self-love and respect. I know this because I'm telling you, I've done it a lot of times, especially since I started my own companies. I don't do it anymore. And at first, I actually grieved the loss of being able to help so many people without having to charge them anything. Because I just like helping people. But you can like helping people without overextending yourself. Because eventually it will end up where, even if you're not like me, someone who has anger and rage issues, when I get exhausted like that, now I'm super, super good as it pertains to having way more control over that. But it doesn't mean I'm going to deny it exists, because it does. Again, and I still love that aspect of myself because I know where it came from, and it deserves all the love it gets from me and anybody else who can love it, right? But even if that isn't your issue, and that once you hit the big wall, maybe you have bouts of anxiety because you're flatlined energetically, or you just isolate yourself. Because empaths have different modalities once they hit the brick wall of I don't have any more light left to give you. Some isolate. Some be riddled with anxiety for weeks. Some go into self-harm. And when I say self-harm, I'm talking about overeating, drinking, doing illicit drugs. Because you've gone to a brick wall and you can't handle reality no more. You ain't got no more life left for you, even yourself. No judgments. I understand it all. And I've experienced, and whether myself or other empaths, I've experienced it through other people or myself. So understand where that comes from. You're still doing that. This is my way of saying to you, you're not alone. But I'm also telling you, it's probably time at this particular juncture to give yourself space to have boundaries. Take ownership of the fact that you didn't have boundaries. And that's why we got there. Okay? But now formulate boundaries and see what they look like. For me, and you can take it if you want to, it's free. For me, what that looked like was saying no more than yes. This is simple. But if a friend says they want to talk to me about something, I start saying, well, I'm not available. I'm either working. Whether I had a client at that hour or not, I'd say this is during my work hours. Because before, if I didn't have a client, I'd just go ahead and call them, let them call me, or blow up my phone with texts about their circumstance and be answering them back, be damn near flatline for my next client. I don't do that no more. If it's my work hours, I don't care if the whole day nobody's booked. I can't talk to you. I can't spend time with you. I can't nothing with you. Unless I've chosen to take the day off or half a day off, nobody's allowed to talk to me. And it's not being mean or malicious. It's just me setting a boundary because I didn't have them before. Okay? And then another way that looks is even when I'm off the clock, I'll let them know. I'll talk to people all day long. And I've been empathing all day long and referring people and all this all day long. So no, I don't have the energetic space for that right now. But if I feel like maybe I have some time the next day, I might put them in my lunch break once a week, if that. Or say, I can see you on Saturday for brunch and we can probably dish and drop some tea as a friend. Empaths, come here. You come here. You deserve to have friends who don't need you. There, I said it. Who just love you for you, not for what you can do. Till next time, everyone is loved.